And good morning, everyone. It's a gorgeous morning out there. And if you liked the weather the last couple days, maybe with the exception of some of Upper Michigan where there was a shower or two, you're going to love today. And pretty much a copy of what we've seen over the last couple days with a couple of degrees extra in terms of the high temperature. But there are some changes in the medium range that I think are relevant, but it's I think a pretty straightforward forecast here as we look ahead. And the timing of this, of course, is, as we've heard, lots of activity going on, and I think in general here the outlook certainly supports more of that as we look ahead. So for our past week here, in review, on the left-hand side, our mean temperature departures, we started the week really cool or much below normal, and we've gotten warmer with time. The next image will illustrate that. But the values here for the past week ranging from a couple of degrees cooler than normal, especially you can see over eastern portions of Upper Michigan and the northern lower, to near normal over large portions of lower Michigan, to even a degree or two above normal across the far southwest lower peninsula and the western UP. So again, we've seen a week in transition from below to above, which is where we are right now. Precip a little, it really depended on where you were. Some areas of the state were pretty dry, less than, some cases, less than 1/10 of an inch. West central lower over into areas of southeastern lower Michigan. Of course, that's allowed soils to dry out even with the cooler temperatures. But we did still have some areas, especially in northern lower Michigan, where you can see more than 1.5 inches fell. I guess one important trend, it has been very, very wet in northern parts of the state, particularly in Upper Michigan. Still some melting, frozen precipitation, some snow there, but precip in some cases has been more than 300% of normal for the last 4 to 6 weeks. And so the fact that those rates have dropped off, and I guess that's an important step in the right direction, because again, the flooding and waterlogged soils have been a significant problem in that part of the state, and worth mentioning. Now, if we look specifically at the last 7 days, I've got some data here from the Weather Station in Hazlet, close by here to campus and to home for me. The red line here that you see, these are 5-minute air temperatures. The orange are the dew point temperatures, which is again a measure of humidity. And then I've got in green behind, these are hourly 2-inch soil temperatures. And it's pretty clear. This is pretty representative of what we saw over much of the state. But this goes all the way back to late last week. And you can see then our air temperatures were in the 40s, 50s, only up to 60s. And we had a gradual warming trend during the week. And the last couple of days, again, we've been up, at least here locally, been up yesterday into the mid and upper 70s. The soil temperature, though, is what I wanted to really illustrate here. The 2-inch, you can see that just a steady increase, and we now have mean soil temperatures here, at least at this site. This is a coarse textured soil that this particular station is at, but we're now well up into the 60s and even into the low and mid 70s for our 2-inch soil temperatures. So it takes it a little bit of time. It lags behind the air temperature a little bit, but you can see that here. The diurnal or daily cycle is really, really well pronounced here, but those soil temperatures are responding to the warmer temps, and we will see that again here today with highs well into the 70s and low 80s. So soil moisture here, one more about that. Where are we right now? Well, most of the state is still running at or in the southern part of the state and much of lower Michigan, we're pretty close to the long-term normals in terms of the top 3 feet of the profile where we are. And as we move into the northern lower, into the UP, we're still significantly above. On the right-hand side here, these blue colors indicate wetter than normal conditions or greater than normal volumetric soil moisture in, again, that top 3 feet. And that's a result, again, of that heavy precipitation we've seen way back into March. But it's less than it was. It's less than it was, and with the outlook coming, there should be further or closer to normal here over the next week. So our weather map this morning, high pressure centered over Pennsylvania, down a ridge down into North Carolina. That's the dominant feature. One more day. We've had, again, this is the third of just some beautiful weather conditions for most of us, and that high will still be in control here. The next weather system that will impact us, you can see out to our west over the Rockies. That's going to slowly make its way towards us and actually pass just a little bit to the south of the state during the day tomorrow and into the weekend. I think I should say at the outset here, what had looked like a fairly unsettled weekend coming up with at least a significant chance for rain has gradually decreased with time. As we looked at the forecast guidance and we look at the meteorological factors here, it's looking more and more like most of the state will remain dry this weekend. The best chances for rain really over the next several days are going to be tomorrow during the day, Friday, especially the afternoon into the early evening. Now, today, though, I mentioned another third of just gorgeous conditions, couple degrees warmer. We should see highs well into the 70s. Mid and upper 70s mostly, and then some low 80s in the south. Same will be true tomorrow, maybe a degree or two less than today. So I think today probably will be the warmest day of the upcoming week. We'll see a little bit of a downward trend in temperatures as we move into the late weekend and into early next week. By tomorrow morning, you can see the greens, the precipitation or chances for precipitation starting to edge into the southwestern corner of the state, and that's moving to the north and east. But it's a little hard to see on this particular weather map, but there's a fairly large area of high pressure here north of the border in central Canada. And so we were looking at a sort of a battle between the weather system to our south and west. It's going to be coming out of the southern Great Plains with a fair amount of moisture with it. And in contrast, we'll have high pressure north of the border from Canada, and that's going to be funneling down cooler and drier air from the north and east. You'll see definitely a change in winds by the time we get to the weekend, shifting from the south and southwest where we are today around to the north and east by Saturday. Again, we're right in the sort of the battleground between those two weather systems. But in this case, I think the dry air from that high pressure and cooler air is really going to eat into the leading edge of the precipitation. So we're going to be looking at precip, yes, advancing into Michigan, probably by morning tomorrow, the southwest corner, but it's going to probably have trouble making its way very far north and east. And right now, I think there's going to be a sharp cutoff to the precipitation, probably I-69 or so, and south is where we'll see the greatest chances for precipitation. Here's Saturday, and I'll throw the map up there as well. You can still see green down in the south. So right now, depending on where you are, northern and central parts of the state probably remaining mostly dry. If we do see any chance of a shower, it would be tomorrow. The greatest likelihood, greatest chances and amounts will be in the far south along the Indiana and Ohio lines, especially in the southwestern corner of the state. We could see significant rain there, a half an inch, maybe 3/4 is possible, but I think that will be isolated, but it's going to really drop off rapidly, the totals, as you go north and east. And then again, I think it more and more looking now like central lower is going to escape most of the precipitation. And Saturday then, as we look here at the weather map, Saturday for most of the state will be dry. There'll be a lingering chance for, and let's call it isolated showers in the far south. That will also be the case on Sunday. But here you can actually see the high pressure up in Saskatchewan and northern Ontario. A lot of cooler and drier air. We will see a cooling off by late in the weekend for Mother's Day. We'll call it partly sunny and cooler, sort of and a little bit of I wouldn't call it a breeze, a northeast breeze, but it'll be noticeable certainly by Saturday and into Sunday. And then Monday, probably our highs back into the 60s, Sunday and Monday will cool off at least 10 degrees. Our lows back into the 40s and 50s. So back to a little bit below normal by the beginning of next week. But and next week, there's a chance for some showers on Tuesday, but again, not a major weather system as expected or anticipated. So we're looking generally at a normal or near to below normal mean temperatures and probably below normal precipitation totals for at least the work week next week. In terms of precip, I mentioned a very sharp cutoff going from north to south across lower Michigan. You can see that really well here. These are potential totals here for the next week. The vast majority of this would fall tomorrow. That's the weather system we talked about. And you can see the totals range from as much as 3/4 of an inch in the extreme southwest, and then rapidly decreasing to less than a quarter, less than a tenth of an inch as you get north of I-69 or so. And it'll be a little tough to define that where that actually sets up, but it probably will be a sharp cutoff. And as you move into the northern half of lower and into much of upper Michigan, dry conditions are expected essentially here on out through the remainder of the weekend and into early next week. So for the northern part of the state, definitely looking at a dry week. Well, in the medium range forecast, there are some changes noted here. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook, and the 8 to 14 day, very, very similar to this. But if we look at the jet stream forecast pattern here for that time frame, the 16th through the 20th, the big issue here, the big feature, look at this big trough over eastern North America here, meteorologically, and we're under a ridge right now. And that's why we have this very, very warm and dry and or unseasonably warm temperatures. The opposite is true with the trough, and we'll have a flow here out of the northwest, out of Canada. So there'll be the passage of at least a couple Canadian origin high pressure systems down into the Great Lakes region, including Michigan. And for that reason, fairly strong likelihood of, if not normal, a little cooler than normal mean temperatures. And you can see that in the upper right hand. Almost all the Great Lakes region is forecast to be drier or cooler than normal. And at the same time, with northwesterly flow, not as much moisture availability, so drier than normal. That's a pretty classic combination for that upper air pattern that we're looking at here. I would note two things. One is that with that kind of upper air pattern, we certainly have to think about frost potential. They're with one of those air masses. All it takes is a night with one of those high pressure systems in the region where we get clear, calm conditions at night. We could see frost. That said, for much of the southern portion of lower Michigan, we are now at or just a little bit beyond our normal last freezing temperatures of the spring season. Now, that's not true in the north, especially the interior northern lower and up into upper Michigan, but climatologically, we're getting towards that last. But with this upper air pattern, it's something, at least it's certainly non-zero, and you never say never, but something to keep an eye on. And one last thing about that too, I'd like to mention is that the forecast, as we look at this over the course of days, we like to see consistency in what the model guidance is trying to tell us. It's not quite as strong with this pattern as it was in the previous days. So maybe we won't see quite as much cold air movement into the region as earlier forecasted and suggested. So we're going to call it overall again. Today, gorgeous day today. Almost can't go wrong with today's forecast, but getting cooler over the weekend. We have a chance for some rain, especially in the south here over the next 24 to 48 hours. But the medium range, normal to below normal mean temperatures and precipitation totals, I think is the direction we're still headed. So with that, I'll wrap up the weather here and introduce next week's speaker. This will be on the 18th, our virtual breakfast. And we'll shift gears a little bit, and we'll have Scott Bales, who's our MSU Extension dry bean specialist. He'll be with us to talk about dry bean planting and management. So that's again 1 week from today. And with that, I'll wrap it up and turn it back to Mike and/or Phil. Thanks.